Welcome to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast, where we discuss all things wellness.
I'm Eleni Welch, nutritionist.
And I'm Kay Boyer, health enthusiast. Welcome back, Renegades.
Welcome, Renegades.
Welcome. This week we have, eating well for the working person.
I have to
Lady, we've just been talking for the last hour, and I forgot that we had a podcast today.
If Kay and I could just record our conversations, it would be interesting, but not necessarily informative.
Very true.
For you to listen to. Yes.
That is funny. Well, I am glad the podcast again. Eleni, I was thinking about this. I do about 3 to 4 days of healthy eating after a podcast. So if we could do this twice a week so I could be healthy all the time, that would help me.
You're like motivated and then you slowly peter out.
Yeah, and then I have like a little ice cream cone by day 4 and I like no regrets.
Well, you kind of live by the like 80-20 rule.
Yes, you're right.
Your version of like not eating healthy.
Right.
Is most people's version of eating healthy. So.
You're really right. I have like Lily's chocolate. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a treat.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, that's fair. That's very fair.
Like, oh my God, I ate an apple.
Yeah,
I'm off of the keto wagon.
Yes, and like cauliflower crust pizza is like my indulgence. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But
yeah.
So I'm ready for another little pep talk today.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, our episode today is eating well for the working person. So based off of my experience when I worked full-time and in Cubicleland at corporate jobs.
Oh, so this is like very office-like work.
Office work, but anybody who works long hours, basically.
Got it. Where you're in another building and you can't really escape to a restaurant.
Correct.
Got it.
Or you can only escape to a restaurant, or it's hard for you to bring food, whatever.
Got it.
This is all about, because let's see. So when I worked at my last corporate job, I worked about a 40-minute drive from home.
Oh,
So that was not going to be like lunchtime, I'll just drive home. Then for the last several years before I started working for myself and working from home, the last several years of job were always within, anywhere from like 1 to like 3 miles from my house.
That's awesome.
And that was probably like 5 years of working jobs like that. So I always came home for lunch, which absolutely is a game changer.
Yep.
And now people can work from home, which is even a bigger game changer. But today's podcast applies really to anybody who's working long hours.
Okay.
Whether you're 5 minutes from home or 40 minutes from home or at home, because it's all geared towards making healthy eating simple and accessible. And sometimes it's like you're working from home, but you can't get away from your desk. You still need to have plans in place to be able to eat healthy. Yes. So that's what it's geared towards.
I'm trying to think. My jobs that I was like working long hours, like stuck in a building, I was a vet tech, love that life, and then a teacher. So I'm going to like go back in my brain. What did I even eat back then?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
I think I just had tacos every day. That's all I brought for tacos. I don't know.
Which, it's working for you.
Yeah, it did. And at the vet clinic, we had ice cream Fridays, and I would run and get everyone like, Dairy Queen blizzards. And those were the good days. Back when you were 24 and you could eat like garbage and it didn't affect you.
It did. You just didn't know it.
No, right. I was so in that space that we just kept going and I couldn't tell. Where now I would be like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Gurgle stomach.
Yep. You'd be like gassing everyone to death.
I gotta go, guys.
Wow. Yeah. I'm curious to know like what you did as a vet tech, but I suppose we'll stay on topic.
Yeah, we'll stay on topic today.
But yes, before we jump into our episode about eating well for the working person, shout out to our listeners in Israel.
Israel? You know what? My mom is in Israel right now.
Is she really?
Yeah, so shout out to mom. Listen from there and we'll get one more listener.
Well, I mean, this episode will come out in like 10 weeks. But
she won't be there anymore.
She won't be there anymore.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Hey, good.
Israel. I had the opportunity to travel to Israel in 2017 and I've been wanting to go back ever since.
You loved it. I love this. What did you do there?
Well, so I went, so before this life that I'm living currently, I was a professor of environmental science.
I love that.
At a online university that was kind of like a seminary type school. So it was a religious university. Interesting to teach environmental science and evolution in that kind of a context. But anyway.
That is interesting. Yes.
Yeah. But so I got invited as part of like a teacher's trip because the majority of the classes there were like theological, biblical classes.
Yeah.
I happened to get invited as a professor to go on this kind of trial trip because at the time they wanted to coordinate yearly trips for the students at the school.
This is cool.
To go to Israel. So I got to go on the very first trip where they were kind of testing out like, here's a rough agenda of what we would take our students through.
Yeah, cool.
And like, how does that work? And is this enough time? Do we spend enough time at these places? What are places we went to that like wouldn't really benefit our students much?
Yeah.
And what are things we missed out on that might have been a better opportunity for our students? So we did all sorts of things. It was really cool. We, of course, did a lot of like biblical, theological, like going to historic sites, which like Israel is just the most amazing place because it's literally so deep in like archaeological finds that there are just sites where you're like stepping over pillars that are like thousands of years old from like ancient palaces and kingdoms that just have all this like amazing historical significance that like they almost have too many like archaeological sites to protect them all.
Like we don't have that in Iowa.
No, it's funny. They kind of make fun of Americans and like what Americans think of history.
Yes,
because we're like, oh my God, this is 200 years old. No, literally they don't even count it as like a historical of anything of historical significance unless it's like 1,000 years old.
That's amazing.
So like 200 years old to them is like yesterday. Like they're like, oh yeah, that's just from 200 years ago. That's not a big deal.
My great grandpa touched it. We don't care.
Yeah, we don't care. So like there you're like literally like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years deep. So we did all sorts of things.
Cool.
We also got to go to like the Knesset and see how their like government worked and meet some of their government officials. And
that is neat.
It was just really cool. If I was a student there, I would really benefit from that because it just takes what you're reading in the Bible and makes it so much more tangible.
Yeah.
So instead of feeling like you're reading a story, you're like actually reading history.
Like,
so you get to go and see the things that you read about in the Bible. Like it was just a really cool. It was a totally cool experience.
Cool.
And it just feels, I think what's cool there is, religion is such a significant part of their day-to-day life.
Yes.
Like there's no, in America, we've kind of suppressed that, right? Like we don't talk to people about our faith.
Yeah.
Unless somebody opens the door for that in a conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
like
fair.
I think I'm pretty transparent about my faith on this podcast. But in a normal conversation, you may not, like God might not be the subject of your conversation if you're talking to somebody you've never met before.
Yeah.
But there it's like that's their whole life is like God.
Cool.
So everything is just, I don't know, you just feel much more like immersed in spiritual.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to explain it. You just actually, you literally feel closer to God when you're there.
Cool.
Because that's their lives. That's what they're living every day. That's their whole existence is serving God in their workplace, in their schools, like in their churches or synagogues. Like, that's what it is. It's just a people dedicated to God. And there's no secrets about it. Like nobody is, literally everybody there dresses according to their religion. Yeah. So you could look at anybody and know basically what religion or religious sect they're part of. Yeah. So there's just, I don't know. I liked that side of it.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're kind of spiritually dead in America.
Right.
In a lot of ways.
I do what I want.
And there you feel so spiritually alive. Like you feel totally connected to God. Like
cool.
It's cool. Obviously, it's, you know, there's parts of it that feel less safe. But even when you were there, we traveled to some of the like parts of Israel that are frequently under, you know, war, like the Gaza area. Yeah. Where like literally you're like listening to the radio for any bomb threats that day as you're like driving there in the bus. You know what I mean? But the people that live there, just their whole trust is in God. Like that's where they live. They're not going to leave. That's their home. Wow. And they're like, nope, well, we trust in God. If we're doing the right thing, he's going to protect us. Wow. So like, what an existence.
What an existence.
I don't know. Wild. It's wild.
Okay. So, well, I'll check the news then for my mama being there. We'll see.
She's probably in safe areas.
Yeah.
But they literally know, like, there's certain amounts of time in those areas. Like, okay, if you hear the bomb sirens go off, you have this long to get to a bomb shelter, and everybody has bomb shelters within a certain mileage of their home.
Wow.
So everybody can make it in a certain amount of time. And then there just are some, like, there might be a warning that they just know they're not going to have enough time. Like,
wow.
What a thing. I don't know.
You got to be ready. Make peace with your life every moment.
Yeah.
You got to be ready.
Yes. So you do just kind of live like trusting.
Yeah.
Which would be quite the adrenal drain, I think,
that's what I'm
of like
thinking.
not feeling safe a lot of
Yes.
times. But at the same time, you don't get the sense that they don't feel safe.
That made me think of, there's a book, I forget the title of it, but how wild animals have less cortisol problems than domestic animals because they live in it so much that they're more accustomed, and their adrenals kind of balance out, and they're not so, anyway, so maybe they're more like used to it, but not in a way where they're in overdrive all the time, where they actually can handle it and lower their baseline. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's something to just really fully trusting the Lord with your life.
Yeah, when you have to. Here we go.
So it is like you feel those people really do trust him with every minute of their day. Whereas in the US, it's like the only time we have to trust him is when we're going through trials. They have to trust him every second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Is it a community idea then too? Like, we're pretty individualistic in America.
I think almost every other country besides
communal.
America is community based.
Yeah.
It's for sure hugely community based.
Well, that's cool.
Anyway, and there's just amazing things to see. Like the Dead Sea is the coolest thing I've ever been to, where you like literally can't sink, like you're just floating.
That is
in
cool.
the salt water.
Yeah,
and there's gorgeous, like, I don't know, there's gorgeous places to hike and places to explore, and just when you get to go into these like archaeological sites and literally know, like, oh, I know the biblical history behind this, and you can just feel it in your bones. Man,
cool.
It's just like indescribable.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerusalem listeners.
Yeah, or Israel. I think
Israel.
Jerusalem's part of it, right? It's the capital. I think what stood out to me is what an incredible leader Israel is too. We got a chance to kind of learn about this when we were there. They are such a leader in like medicine and science and technology.
I did not know this.
Literally.
Yes.
Like, I think the US thoughts in America is that like we're pretty cutting edge. Right. Nowhere near to cutting edge compared to Israel.
Really?
Like, they are so, every like amazing medical technology I feel like that comes to the US basically comes from like Israel.
Okay, cool. I did not know that. I assumed Tesla was number one in everything.
I mean, they are pretty cool in the realm of technology, I just feel like
the medical,
in terms of like science, medicine, and just general technology, Israel is generally one of the front lines producing it. Cool. As an example of their ingenuity, an Israeli company developed an atmospheric water generator that can create clean drinking water from the air, which has since been deployed in disaster situations all over the world.
From the air.
How cool is that? Like literally
magic.
Gathering moisture from the air and generating clean water out of it.
Science is magic.
They also developed something called a human on a chip at Hebrew University, which aims to replace animal testing for new pharmaceuticals.
I love that.
How cool is that?
That is cool.
Yes, definitely support that.
Save our little bunnies.
Yeah. Here's a few other fun facts about Israel. Israel recycles 90% of the wastewater it creates, making it the leading nation in the world for water recycling. So in comparison, in the United States, we only recycle 1%.
1%?
Of our wastewater. They recycle 90%.
Okay, we need their technology.
Ew.
Israel, we're going to buy it. Okay.
Also, this is my favorite one. Israel was the first country to ban underweight models from participating in fashion shows.
What? I love that.
Yeah, like that's awesome.
They're like, go eat a cookie already. Like,
go eat. You're not allowed to be here if you're unhealthy. You're just making everybody else who is healthy feel bad about what their bodies look like.
That's amazing.
I think that was so cool. I was like, go Israel.
Now it's like thin shaming.
Thin shaming.
I like it to like healthy. Okay.
Yeah, every body is beautiful. You should always feel beautiful where you're at. But also your goal should always be to be healthy.
Like in a health, like
healthy.
your body like functioning, right?
Yes. minimizing your risk of disease. Who doesn't want that? So yes.
Right. Interesting.
So go Israel.
I didn't know they were so cutting edge. In my mind, I have equated them with like biblical history. So in my mind, they all, go by wagon and carts everywhere.
Well, they are like the chosen people of God. So when you think about like God is a very creative creator.
Yeah.
It makes sense that so much ingenuity comes out of a place where
That
they
rock
literally
science.
spend so much of their lives serving him.
Yeah.
Like ask and ye shall receive.
Yeah. They receiving.
They receive all that wisdom.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Makes sense to me.
Cool. It totally does.
So cool. All right. Well, thank you, Israel. Thank you for everything you are and do.
Yes.
And thank you for listening to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we will talk about eating well for the working person.
Yeah.
Which I think, as we all know, one of the most difficult places to eat well is at work.
Yes.
That is not a secret. We spend a lot of our day there. If you're working a traditional 9-to-5 job, at least here in America, that's pretty traditional.
Yep.
And if your office is anything like the ones I've been in, it's not like they're like raising grass-fed cattle between your cubicles, right?
Right. You get this much space in the fridge and that's all.
Yeah, that's it. So, although it has been quite a while since I've worked in Cubicleland, probably close to 7 years, 6 or 7 years, I still really remember the struggles of eating healthy while working a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember how difficult that was.
It's a lot.
Even in my most recent job, when I worked just like a 7-minute drive from home and I could drive home from lunch, I worked extremely long hours and often didn't get home until like 7:15, 7:30 or later sometimes. So I found myself needing to have quick and easy dinners.
Yeah.
As well.
You almost had like 2 meals at work.
I did.
Or you wouldn't eat till you got home.
No, I did end up doing that towards the end because
Wow.
it was really impacting my sleep because I wasn't eating till like 8:30.
Right.
And my mom helped make us meals and my mother-in-law helped make us meals. So like
love
2
your
days.
mamas. Yeah.
I know they're the best.
Yep.
So 2 days a week I had dinner waiting when I got home. But even with that, like I usually I'd catch up with my husband and like,
Yeah.
so I wasn't finishing eating till like 8:30 or 9. And then I had to be up at 4:30 the next day.
Oh, can we be thankful these years are long
These years
past?
are over. They will never arise again. I mean, until I'm awake with my kid, which I'd much rather do anyway.
Yeah.
But so I would basically eat and immediately go to bed.
Wow.
And I was sleeping so terribly. I mean, I was stressed out too and unhappy.
Right.
So that didn't help.
Remember our Dina Thompson she's our guest we've had twice. She's like, try to quit eating 3 hours. Is it 3 hours before you
3
go to
hours.
sleep? Yep. So that way, and if you're going right asleep, golly.
And eat within 2 hours of waking up. So I was waking up at 4:30, but I was practicing intermittent fasting where I was not eating breakfast.
Oh, yeah, at that time.
So I wasn't eating most days until like 12:30.
I'm hungry just thinking about it.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I'm just thinking about how much I burnt my adrenals out
Yes,
during
yes.
that time. Anyway, I digress. So these tips are based off of my experience of what worked, as well as some tips I found from the Weston Price Foundation, which was an awesome resource. They have a whole like series of practical articles that I've pulled information from. So
For our listeners, I love that.
for our listeners. And one of the authors that I read her article on eating healthy at work, she was a school teacher. So
Okay.
can relate.
Yep.
So the first thing I think is important to understand and know and accept about eating well at work is that it does require a certain level of prepping and planning and maybe some investment.
Yep.
I think if you just want it to be magically easy, it's not going to be.
Dang.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's not as hard as you might think.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make it as easy as possible, but it's still going to require work on your part to do it well.
Okay. We're here for it.
Right, because you'll have the best luck if you meal plan in advance and prep food on the weekends.
Yes.
Like that's just how it's going to be easiest for you.
Yep.
That said, I am not a meal planner. I usually, and I didn't become one magically when I was at work.
Yes.
I just usually make a protein, veggie, and sauce without necessarily having recipes planned out in advance.
Yep.
So I'm not a meal planner, but I keep my meals to an extent where they don't require planning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's how I eat. It doesn't require planning. So,
yeah.
But something I did while working full-time was take Sundays to prep veggies and pull out meat to thaw for the week.
Yep.
So on Sundays, I would wash and chop veggies like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, etc. And also make up a batch of riced cauliflower. Big batch of riced cauliflower. Our refrigerator always just smelled like farts.
Yes.
And I'd make up a big batch of veggie hash that usually included like sweet potatoes, broccoli stems, because if you're chopping broccoli,
yum.
If you grate the stems, it actually is really good in a hash, and it's a good way to use the stems, which I think have more vitamin C than the rest of the broccoli.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So use a hash with sweet potatoes, broccoli stems, beets, and onions. So I would prep all those veggies. So
you had me till beets, but keep going.
Okay. Oh, I love beets.
Yep.
So I would, once I started eating breakfast and trying to eat earlier in the day, so I started eating breakfast, started eating dinner earlier. Actually, at work, I would just pack dinner and bring it to work and take like 20 minutes, go sit in the break room and eat dinner because I wouldn't get home till 7:30 anyway. So I was trying to eat breakfast as well. So I'd make a batch of like veggie hash and some eggs in the morning.
Yum.
And that was really quick because if you already have the hash made, it's just cooking it. So I could just put it on the stove with some butter, walk away, finish getting ready, come back to it, crack a few eggs over it, put a lid on, let the whole thing kind of steam, and then I could just sit down and eat it.
Yep.
So that was fast.
Quick.
Yep. But it required, again, if you're going to eat that well for breakfast,
yes,
it requires you to have it prepped.
Yep.
My food processor was literally my best friend. I think I used it more during that time frame than any other because I would rice the cauliflower, just wipe it out, and then shred all the veggies in it to make the hash. So this helped me tremendously with having veggies and protein ready for quick dinners. So on days when I didn't bring dinner to work, I could come home and just really quick, like throw some broccoli in the air fryer or like saute it in a pan and just cook up a hamburger or a piece of chicken or a piece of fish.
Yep.
So dinners were always like 30 minutes or less because the veggies, which takes kind of the longest, were always cut and
just
ready.
Throw them in a plan.
Ready to go. Yeah. Yep. And at that time too, my husband at some point, like midway through, so let's say I was at that job for 2 years, 1 year in, COVID hit, and my husband started working from home. So then that was even better because I could just text him and be like, hey, pull some fish out to thaw,
Yes.
So that helped. But otherwise I would have had to be more aware for about a year when we were both at work. I had to be really aware of like,
thawing meat
and remembering to thaw meat.
Yep.
And another thing we would do is often have a whole roast chicken. And that was one thing that like my mother-in-law would make for us a lot on Mondays, which was so nice, is she would just make us a whole roast chicken. Then I would pull all the meat from that like Monday night.
Yes.
Then we had it for the rest of the week. With a whole roast chicken, you can make multiple meals out of it. You can make like chicken salad.
Yeah.
You can make just roast chicken and veggies. So we'd just keep some of it plain and then just heat up veggies when I got home. And then there's a quick like 20-minute meal.
Yep.
Chicken tacos, spring rolls, whatever.
Yum.
Whatever you want.
Yum.
Just having like a big protein like that. And there was only 2 of us. So a roast chicken would take us through the week. So if you wanted to have food prepped, and you had a family of 4, maybe you'd be roasting 2 whole chickens. But it's kind of a nice, especially if your kids are maybe teenage age where they can take care of themselves. Then they can just go to the fridge, pull some veggies and pull some chicken.
And it's like real food. Delicious. And
And it's always ready. So that's something that you can do. For meal planning, it's best to generally plan on 1 or 2 meat dishes or main dishes and 2 or more side dishes.
Smart.
So if you do your planning for the next week on Friday or Saturday of the previous week or before whatever day you go shopping, you'll be eating each of the dishes all week. So each recipe needs to make, if there are 2 of you in your household, each recipe needs to make anywhere from 4 to 8 servings to get you and your spouse through the week. Obviously, you'll have to do the math if you have children and more people in your household that you're trying to feed. But that's the best way to kind of plan it. So kind of plan on 2 meals. That way you're not eating the same thing for lunch every day. but you're basically like you have enough to have lunches and dinners ready for 2 people throughout the whole week. And you can mix and match the side dishes. So if you make the side dishes something that can go with either main dish, that's kind of a nice way to change it up a little bit.
And then I usually do a like a buffalo sauce one day a week to mix it up. Because now, I had chicken yesterday. Today I'm having buffalo chicken.
Ooh.
Oh.
And I, too, like, something I liked doing was if we had a big batch of, like, chicken and veggie soup.
Yes. Oh.
So, like, that'd be really good. It's a good base. 3 days into, like, chicken and veggie soup, usually I'd be kind of tired of the flavor of it.
Yeah.
So I would mix in coconut milk and curry paste.
Oh.
And lime juice and cilantro. And make it like a Thai chicken and veggie soup.
That sounds amazing.
Then that's a totally different tasting dish.
Yes.
And then I would take like the other half of it and add like cumin, paprika, cilantro again, because you could use cilantro for both.
Yep.
Lime juice, garlic, onion, and make it a Mexican veggie soup.
Love it. Sounds yummy.
So you could literally make like 3 different meals out of one soup. So I'll kind of get into like soup prep too, but that's one of the best ways to have easy lunches and dinners. And like the day I did that, Christopher and I had regular chicken and veggie soup for lunch, and then I turned it into a Thai veggie soup for dinner.
Yes.
And then I took the other half of it and turned it into a Mexican veggie soup, which we had for lunch the next day. But you're adding totally different, like we would add like good corn tortilla chips to it.
Yeah.
Grate in some cheese, put a little like, I don't do cow's milk dairy very well, but I would have sheep's milk yogurt, like plain sheep's milk yogurt. And I would just use that for sour cream.
Yeah.
Because it still has the sour.
Yeah.
So I would add that in. Oh my gosh. So like you didn't feel like you were eating the same soup 3 meals in a row.
Yes.
Because you're just adding different mix-ins.
Life hack.
Yes. Hey there, Renegades. Eleni here, briefly interrupting this episode of the Renegade Nutrition podcast. I wanted to highlight a company that Kay and I have recently discovered that we love, and that company is Bulletproof. Bulletproof sells high-quality nutritional supplements, and every product that Kay and I have tried from them personally, we have found to be excellent. It's important when you choose a supplement that it contain the bioactive forms in order for it to be effective, and Bulletproof has just the right forms in just the right amounts. Right now, if you go to bulletproof.com and use the code RENEGADE15 at checkout, you can receive 15% off your order. That's Renegade, RENEGADE 15. Use that code at checkout to get 15% off, and we'll earn a small commission too. Thanks for your support. All right, back to this week's episode of the Renegade Nutrition Podcast. Once you have the recipes in hand, it's time for you to inventory your refrigerator and the pantry and then make a shopping list. Then you can get your shopping done on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, and then the food gets cooked on Saturday or Sunday evening, which... yeah, our shopping days, when Christopher was at work, he just would always pick things up after work because he was in the city.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a pretty
small town.
Yep. We don't have access to like great groceries any closer than like 30 minutes away.
Right.
So for us, grocery shopping required more planning. So it either had to happen on a weekend when we could go together.
Yep.
Which I really enjoy grocery shopping with my husband.
Yeah,
but not everybody feels that way.
He acts like I'm his puppy, and I am like not here for it. Which that's the other secret where your husband does grocery shopping. My husband does the grocery shopping. Not because he's a saint. Well, he is a little bit, but it's more of a control issue that he like doesn't want me to like.
He doesn't want you to
the wrong sour cream.
Okay. See, Christopher just would buy whatever was on the list, and usually he'd have like 1,000 questions. I actually have a running joke with my friend Emily about this, but like how many questions he would call me with, because he just really wanted to make sure he got the right thing.
Okay.
Because he is such a specific literal person.
Yes.
And I generally didn't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
But it did seem like anytime he didn't ask me, he somehow bought the wrong thing.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
But like when he would ask me, I would also be like, I don't know, just like whatever.
Just grab whatever.
Yeah. Okay. If it doesn't say exactly that, it's fine. But it's just so funny. Anyway.
Yes. How it does matter.
Yeah.
There is something to that. Now I'm more particular. Now I pay attention to the labels. I used to not. So.
Right.
Yep. I've grown.
Yes. This was in the days when we cared. I mean, the current days that we're in now where we cared about labels. So that was mostly what he was calling about. Like, hey, I found this thing, but it has this ingredient. Are you okay with that? So I would always prefer he just ask me, but I just was annoyed about it because I'd get like 7 phone calls.
Yes. Yeah. Just buy the groceries.
Anyway, so that helped because, we're 30 to 40 minutes away from any groceries. So it helped that he could pick them up after work. Now my mother-in-law helps us by picking things up when she grocery shops for us because neither of us are in the city very often. Mm-hmm. But I also have appointments in the city so I can go and get stuff. So you don't have to grocery shop on a Saturday or Sunday. I personally think it's fun to go with your family. I enjoy it. Yeah. If you don't, then just make the list at whatever day of the week is convenient for you. But you just have to plan ahead. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
So I have everything geared towards prepping on the weekends.
Yeah.
But if the best day for you to grocery shop is a Tuesday, your schedule is going to have to change accordingly.
Yes. And now I feel like our listeners might be on this train too, where you order online and pick it up.
Yes, that's an option now. That's really nice.
That a lot of my tech friends are on that train.
And I'm so I buy so much produce typically that I'm like pretty picky about that.
That's fair.
But it is a nice time saver, and if you're not going to be particular about it, it's totally a great way to like literally at work order your groceries online and then just swing by and pick them up after work. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yep, that's smart.
That's a good hack. But if you can do your grocery shopping before the weekend, I do think weekends are the best time to do the prepping and the preparing.
Yep. Helps organize our brain and the prepare for the week.
Right.
Yep.
So if it's done efficiently, I think that food prep and cooking shouldn't usually take more than 4 hours. Yeah. I would do all the veggie prep within like 2 hours of dedicated time.
Yeah.
And frankly, like I would just put on a movie. Like, I mean, from my kitchen, I can see like a TV. So I would just put on a movie because I was doing kind of mindless work, or I would listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
Or if it was like summer and a nice day, I'd let my chickens out and I could just kind of like keep an eye on them in the yard. So I always did multiple things while I food prepped.
Nice. Nice. I do not food prep, so I don't even know what I do. I don't think I could watch a show because I have my attention on it too much. I couldn't split.
I would just put on something like The Office that we've seen 1,000 times that is like brainless. Yes. And hopefully you have a partner or a spouse or a roommate or a child or somebody helping you with this.
Yes. That community aspect, it's so good.
If you're prepping food for your spouse and you for the whole week, your spouse should be helping you. That's my opinion, unless they're going to be more of a hindrance than a help. Or they have other chores they have to do at home. That's fine. But like Christopher would always help me with the food prep and it would go way faster and be way more fun.
Yep.
Some necessary supplies you may need up front could include a soft-sided insulated lunchbox. I found this necessary to have like a soft lunchbox because I would always pack it to the brim.
Yeah.
So it like barely zip. So like something that was like hard plastic or metal wouldn't have worked for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't have crammed everything
and
in
they're
it.
so bulky anyway and they don't fit as much. Yeah, I agree with this.
So soft-sided insulated lunchbox, several sets of glass containers with resealable lids.
We love Pyrex.
Pyrex does make a nice line. Of those, I suggest buying multiple sizes. So a larger size that will fit your main dish, and then a few others for side dishes and sauces that you'll want to bring with you to work during the week. Yep. Make sure that the largest of the containers you want to use fits squarely in the bottom of your lunchbox.
That's the thing. Yep.
So you might want to buy the containers first. And then if you don't already have a lunchbox, buy the lunchbox accordingly.
That's smart. Yeah.
You also might want to invest in some reusable silicone bags for things that don't need to be heated, like vegetable sticks. Yeah. Or small plastic containers for sauces and dips that you aren't going to heat. In an ideal world, we wouldn't be using any plastic. However, I only have, for the most part, glass containers. And I've definitely run into the, like, my lunchbox weighs 1,000 pounds scenario. Yes. And there's a bunch of glass in it that's, like, kind of clinging together.
Yeah.
So, yes, having plastic can be helpful if you're not going to heat it.
Yeah. Yep.
Invest in at least one, if not two, large insulated thermoses that you can put soup and bone broth in.
Ooh, I like it. Yes.
I think one of the best ways to enjoy healthy food at work is to bring a thermos of hot bone broth with you to sit for breakfast and in between meals. So I did that even at my job when I was kind of like intermittent fasting, as I started to realize that that was not benefiting my body just because of how stressed out I already was. Like, not eating was an extra stress. So I started bringing every morning a big thermos of bone broth.
Yeah.
And then I would sip on that. I would put a little coconut aminos in it and a square pat of butter.
Yum.
Like, heat it up on the stove as I was getting ready, pour it in my thermos on the way out the door. My thermos kept it hot all dang day. Like,
that's awesome.
It was a good thermos.
That is a good thermos.
I had to leave it open in the morning or I couldn't drink the soup. It was like scalding. But that was a really great way just to have something that's really nutrient dense, always available to my body. So even on those days that like your job caters in lunch, or you go out with coworkers and you maybe don't make the healthiest choice, if you have bone broth, you can at least feel good about doing something nutritious for your body that day. If you're going to make large batches of food and then freeze it in smaller portions for later use, I suggest investing in an extra freezer if that's an option for you.
That is a good life goal. We do have one, and I'm like, I think I need to get a second. That is a good idea.
Kay has seen my basement. We have a bunch.
I have like 5. Do you have 5? How many?
Not just freezers, but we do have 5 fridges and refrigerator and freezers. There's like 2 dedicated refrigerators, 2 dedicated freezers. 1 combo.
And you're not even a prepper. You just have that's like your beautiful food freezers.
We just save like food throughout the year so much.
Yeah. It's a gardener's way.
Yeah. And then I would plan for like 4 to 6 weekends a year. That's it. 4 to 6 weekends a year.
Okay.
You get 52 of them. So take 4 to 6 of them to cook like seriously huge pots of soups and stews.
Oh.
So like if you test a recipe and then fall in love with it, make up batches and batches of it for freezer storage, store it in you can either store it in like a 2-cup Pyrex bowl or freeze it in like quart-sized mason jars. Just make sure you leave room for expansion, because there's nothing sadder than like putting soup in the freezer and having the glass break.
I wondered how you did that. So you just don't tighten the lid, just leave the lid?
Well, you have to leave a certain amount of space. So if you're going to use a quart jar, there's actually on the mason jars, at least, there's like a line up at the top. That's the max fill line. You don't go past that, and don't put it in hot, because that's going to be the most expansion. So we would cook soup, let it cool on the counter or in the refrigerator.
Like an hour.
Yeah, if you have it in glass jars, it cools pretty fast.
Oh, okay.
An hour at least.
Okay.
Though,
nice.
An hour at least. And we would put it directly on our quartz countertop because that draws heat out.
Okay.
And then you need to leave like a solid headspace in the jar so that as the ingredients expand, they don't bust the glass.
I did not know this.
Oh, yes.
This is good.
You would have, if you made bone broth, oh my God, it's like the most heart-wrenching thing to make up a batch of bone broth and then like open the freezer to go to use it, and your jars have like cracks in them.
Well, I think in fact, I like threw away some bone broth because it was in the fridge and I put it in the glass jars, and I was like, well, what do I do with it? I can't put this in the freezer.
Oh yeah.
But if I emptied out, leave the room at the top, then I could.
Yeah, you have to leave headspace. Most jars have like a marking at the top. You fill it to that marking, and if you don't go beyond that, you're usually okay.
I'm learning so much. I truly am sort of clueless in the kitchen, but here I'm learning so much.
Yeah, so then if you make a big batch of frozen soup, at the beginning of each week, you can pull what you need for the week from the freezer to thaw in the fridge. And then that's a great option to have on hand, like I mentioned, for both lunches and dinners if you work long hours or are too tired to cook when you get home from work. So if you made up 2 different batches of soup, you could pull them both at the beginning of the week. You can have one for lunch and one for dinner.
I love it.
Or you can do what I did and just, you're reheating the same soup every day, but you just add different ingredients to it to change it up. That's why I love that chicken vegetable soup. Man, it can just become so many things.
Yes, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Something else I have just recently discovered while I was doing research for this article that I think is such a game changer is the crock pot now makes something called the lunch pot. Have you seen this?
No, but I love
So
it.
cute. It's a small portable electric food heater for on the go, and it can even plug into your car. So it's like a little mini crock pot, but safer to have.
Right.
You can literally put it at your desk space, in your cubicle.
Your little mini crock pot.
And you just plug it in at your desk. I couldn't see for sure, but it looked like it had a USB charger. I was watching little videos.
For the modern way.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Like a 2-quart, you think? 1 quart, 2 quart.
It was 20 ounce, so whatever that is.
Let's not do the math. Okay. That's amazing.
I think that's a great alternative option for people who are like truckers or who drive distances on the road.
Yeah.
Like truckers, it's always such a challenge for them because they're on the road all the time. Like, how do you eat well? So
we have like a warm meal on the road.
Literally. Pack it in the morning, plug it into your car. Even you could put frozen food in it, let it thaw, and then plug it in. So you could go all day before you started. I mean, really, and be food safe.
This is cool. We're going on vacation. I might hack this for our vacation.
So it is like you can put whatever food you want warmed at lunch in it in the morning, bring it to work, plug it in at your desk, and then when you just put it on the right heat setting, it might take some experimentation. Mm-hmm. But literally you could put frozen it'd be hard to put frozen soup in it in the morning, I suppose, because you have to get it out of the jar. But cold soup or something from your fridge, put it in, plug it in, put it on low. Yeah. It's going to be hot and delicious by lunch.
I'm here for it.
They're perfect for individual meals. They hold 20 ounces and they cost $40. And they have some seriously cute color options.
We're now at this age.
Yes. Look how cute that crock pot is. Yeah. I was literally tempted.
Look how cute that crock pot is.
I was just looking at them yesterday because I saw it as a recommendation on one of the Weston Price articles that somebody had written about eating well at work. Somebody was like, did you know that crock pot makes these little lunch pots and you can just plug them in at your desk? So I looked them up online.
We need to link them.
I think I have the link copied into my notes to remember to put them in the show notes.
I love it.
I was so tempted to buy one. They had this blush colored, this gorgeous light mauve with these rose gold details.
Adorable.
It was so pretty, but I work from home. There's literally no reason for me to own something like that.
You're so right. Just for the novelty of the gorgeous light.
Oh, I was like, oh my God, this is so pretty. But I was like, no, I don't work. And I don't plan to go back to work in a building. So
in a little bit, yeah.
But that's a great way to avoid using microwave ovens if you are so inclined. I'm not a huge fan of microwave ovens.
Oh, I have this question.
Yeah.
Why? Because my husband's they're fine, Kay.
Yeah, well, everybody says everything is fine that's bad for you, right?
Right. Would it be just because it's there's negative ion charge, or I don't know.
There's something with the radiation. There's some questions about the radiation they release, and there's some people who say it's contained and it's fine, and maybe they're right. I don't feel like experimenting with it personally.
Okay, yeah. Since we have things like crock pots,
right, exactly. And then also, it's one of the more nutrient destructive ways to heat your food.
Oh, got it.
So nutrition-wise, it is it kind of destroys a lot of the nutrients of your food because it's just high heat, high concentration of heat, whereas the best way to heat your food is low and slow.
Slow and low. Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. When we remodeled our kitchen and we didn't put in a microwave because we had one of those low ones where you need a whole face on it and it needs to be custom, and then I was just too annoyed to do that process. So now we've been in it 4 years without one, and now I can totally cook and survive with no microwave. I don't even think twice about it. But now I realize my kids will not know really how to use a microwave if they grow up. They'll be like, how many minutes? Anyway, but
they're pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. We haven't had one for 5 years, so we're there with you.
Same.
When we remodeled our first home, we just didn't put it back in.
Yeah.
And then when we moved into this house, I don't think they had one.
Yeah.
And we hadn't been using one for 2 years, so it wasn't even in our purview. Yeah. I heat things up in the pot. On a stove.
Yeah, on the stove. Yeah.
Or in the oven.
And it takes 2 minutes longer than the microwave.
Right. And I'm home, so I can do that. But if you're at work you can totally use the microwave, right? Yeah. It's like one step at a time.
Yeah. I wondered. I had that thought the other day. I was like, well, microwave. But I get it.
Like you're at work and you need it to be heated up in 2 minutes. Fine. That's fine. But I just want you to know that crock pot does make those little lunch pots, and you could heat things up in them, and they're so pretty. Or some workplaces have a convection or toaster oven, which are a little bit better. So an average meal in a glass dish takes approximately 20 minutes to heat up in the convection oven at 250.
250, yep.
So obviously that's longer than a microwave, but like the last workplace I worked at, they had a convection oven. So I would, like when I was heating up lunches or dinners, I would just go in 20 minutes before my lunch break, put my thing in the convection oven, turn it on, and then it would be ready for me.
That's awesome.
So you can do that also if you want to avoid a microwave oven and it's available to you. So on a typical workday, you might start by packing up a meal that you prepared over the weekend in a large glass container. A serving of the main dish you made and then 1 or 2 sides should usually be sufficient for your lunch, as long as you're eating a good breakfast. This might be a container of soup and a salad, or reheated chicken and veggies from the night before, or like a few spring rolls, which I like those because they're really easy to make in advance in batches, and then they store in the fridge pretty well. Or like protein and some lettuce wraps, like whatever it looks like to you. And if you don't have time to eat breakfast at home, you can also pack up breakfast and then reheat it, or just eat it kind of like room temp once you get to work. I did that all the time when I worked in Cubicleland.
Yes. I was thinking about that when I was a teacher. I think I just ate a lot of room temperature things.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with like room temperature chicken, room temperature. Like,
right.
I just love food, so I'm happy to eat
Yeah,
it.
you're okay with that. Yeah, and I like would pack, I don't know, I just would never leave myself quite enough time to eat breakfast, but I could take time to make it. So I could make like a couple fried eggs and like some sausage or something, and then I would just throw it in a glass Tupperware and bring it to work. Yeah. And then when I had a break, I would just sit down and eat it, and that was when I would eat breakfast, which I'm not advocating for per se, because I don't really think it's that great when people just sit at their desks like answering emails while they eat. Like that is so disengaged from your meal, and it can be stressful, and you're not really like, it's much better if you can just take 10 minutes, 20 minutes and go to the break room.
And chew your food all the time.
Chew your food, just sit quietly.
Be mindful eating it and how gorgeous it tastes.
Right. I'm always going to advocate for that, but I would still rather you eat breakfast than not eat breakfast. So if you have to eat it while your like camera is off and you're in a Zoom meeting, fine.
We get it.
But ideally, you're going and like just separating yourself. You're supposed to get breaks throughout the day. Like that's labor laws, right? So you should be able to go and take those breaks and go eat. I mean, if smokers can go outside to smoke, you can go and do something that's good for your health and go eat in the break room, right? So anyway, you could heat up like bacon or sausage, fried eggs, a couple of hard-boiled eggs, or like half an avocado or some of your veggie hash. Like there's lots of things you could just make really quick for breakfast and then pack to go, and then that way you can eat breakfast at work if you didn't leave yourself time to eat in the morning, which is worth doing. And then lastly, you could pack like a piece of fresh fruit, any healthy snacks you might want for the day if you don't keep them at your desk, a salad if you're taking one, and any condiment or sauces you want. So the whole process, including cooking breakfast, should really only take like 20 minutes max, because everything should already be prepped. You're just putting it in containers and taking it for work. Even better is if you just already stored it ready to go in containers and you're just pulling them out and putting them in your lunchbox. If your workplace has a refrigerator that you can leave food in, some great snacks to bring for the week include veggie sticks and hummus, fermented pickles or sauerkraut, Braunschweiger. We've talked about Braunschweiger, organ meat sausage, a block of good quality goat, sheep, or cow's milk cheddar if you tolerate any of those dairies, some hard-boiled eggs, some high-quality meats like turkey, salami, prosciutto, or summer sausage, plain organic sheep, goat, or cow's milk yogurt, and then any condiments like homemade mayo or high-quality store-bought condiments, salad dressings. If you make salad dressing, that's cheapest, but and most healthy. But anyway, that all sounds like a lot, but it just depends on your workplace's refrigerator space and requirements, because some workplaces like don't let you keep food in the fridge, or they do. I mean, you can keep it in the fridge for the day, but you can't keep it overnight. And some places you can keep it for the week, but not over the weekend, or it gets thrown away. But those are some things that are just nice if you can keep your food in the fridge throughout a whole week. Those are things that are nice to just have on hand for the week. Yeah. To give you access all the time to healthy snacks. And then keep one desk drawer loaded with some nutrient-dense snacks to prevent you from giving in to the vending machines. Yes. Or for days where you forget or didn't have time to pack your lunch. Like maybe you woke up late or slept through your alarm or have an early meeting and you don't have time to pack your lunch. If you keep the things we just talked about in the fridge at work, and then you keep nutrient-dense snacks at your lunch or snacks at your desk, then you're kind of set, right? Like you can have days where you don't bring lunch and you're fine. So some things that you might keep at your desk could be cans of like flip top tuna or salmon, which you can mix up with the mayo you brought to keep in your work fridge. You can have homemade trail mix with nuts and seeds and dried fruits, maybe some Lily's chocolate. A few cans of carbonated water to help with any soda cravings. So smart. I like the Spindrift brand, which is just carbonated water and fruit puree. Nut butters, gluten-free crackers, like the Simple Mills almond flour crackers or Mary's Gone crackers or flaxseed crackers. Those are all good options. Then you can have them with the nut butters or with the tuna or salmon salad. Sea salt, pepper, and dried herbs to flavor your meals, or the broth if you packed broth or soup. And then salmon and beef jerky, like a good quality. Yeah. Those are all smart. And to have a flip-top can is very smart. Make sure they have the tab. Yeah. Don't want something you need like... Yes. You don't want to have a crock pot and a can opener at your desk. That's getting a little bit... What is it? Your kitchen? Come on. But those are all things. And I literally, at every job I've ever worked at since I became an adult, have had a snack drawer. Like, a dedicated snack drawer. I love it. I never got that organized. I should do that. Yeah. It's a great way to do it. I kind of am impulsive, though. I feel like I would eat the whole snack drawer in one day. That's where Kay falls. Well, but if you're putting things like salmon, like canned salmon in it, like you're not going to eat more than one of those. That's fair. That's fair. So if you're packing good, like nutrient-dense snacks, it shouldn't be things that would trigger, like... Right. Binge eating. Yeah. So like a nutrient-dense snack isn't a bag of potato chips, right? That you could binge eat. It's something that's going to fill you up and satisfy you. I think the most difficult part of like making the most of your own food is if you have something for 3 days in a row and you're just sick of it, which I've sort of addressed with like what I did with the soup. But if you don't feel like having the lunch you prepared and you're at work, then leave it for the next day and make a meal out of like sausage or Braunschweiger or cheese and fermented pickles or sauerkraut and like the piece of fruit that you brought. Because if you keep those snacky lunch charcuterie type items at your work fridge or like things that can be stored at room temp at your desk, then you do have alternatives. So if you're like, gosh, I just don't feel like eating this soup for the third day in a row, like just save it for the next day and eat something different. Make up like a quick tuna or salmon salad with the cans you have at your desk. So doing your own cooking doesn't have to be this like exercise in self-denial. Like I don't imagine doing this and then just looking in envy at your coworkers while they eat cafeteria food. I kind of imagine the opposite scenario, right? Yeah. Like you have these like amazing home-cooked meals. Yes. And they're just eating whatever is available in the parking lot food truck or at the cafeteria or I don't know. And then if you have to go like out for lunch or go out to go grab something from your local gas station, that just takes away from your lunch break and it's not going to be good quality food. So, So those are my hacks. I love it. It does like bring me back to another time where you really had to plan ahead and but I like these are great choices and you can make healthy, delicious choices. Yes, absolutely. Well, good. And make it easy. Well, thanks for researching for us. You bet. And for all of our office workers and corporate people, keep at it. Make those good choices and thanks. Yeah, and go be renegades. Go be renegades. Thank you for listening to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast. Please keep in mind that this podcast is an educational service that provides general health information. The content on this podcast is not a substitute for direct, personal, professional medical care and diagnosis. You should always talk to your doctor before making a dietary or lifestyle change. Go be renegades!
Go be renegades!